Hello, beautiful beings and Soul Share podcast listeners. Wow, I am so happy to be back. I'm your host, Diaz Mariposa, and I am so stoked to be premiering the season 2 of the Soul Share podcast with this solocast episode today. Oof, we have a super blessed and juicy topic and theme in store that I will be transmitting on and soul sharing on. And yeah, it just feels so good to be here. And this is the first time I know that y'all are seeing me in the flesh through the virtual screen, as all season 1 was merely audio for the podcast. And I'll have you know that season 2 is going to incorporate some videos. We have a stacked lineup of epic guests. Like, wow. So grateful and so excited for you all to receive the wisdom that comes through these particular souls that I've called into the Soul Share podcast space, as well as the activations that you will experience in the holy remembrance of who and what you truly are. So, this is the first video of some more that are to come. Not all of them for season 2 will have video, but there will be some. And it's really exciting to bridge in this new element for you guys to feel this, for you to feel the messages, for you to feel this connection that we can establish and create and nurture here in this field and in this space. So it is, so good to be back after the hiatus from this podcast space. And, you know, I have lived through so many initiations since the last episode was live, and it is really exciting to be here and to feel the aliveness of certain topics that I'll be bringing forward and soul sharing about, whether that's solo or with another being. So that being said, you know, the times that we are in are calling for a certain level of remembrance and a certain level of presence and lucidity towards ourselves, the microcosm, and towards the world and what's happening in the reflection in the macrocosm. And, you know, the things that are happening, the wildly full spectrum things that are happening in our world and in the larger worldly climate that we live in, it can either motivate you or it can debilitate you. And my intention and my prayer is that everything that I share here and in this conversation today does the former, the motivating factor, as opposed to you feeling debilitated and in powerlessness and in despair. So my intention with the podcast and with this message is to really ultimately share key codes for you to experience the emergence of more of your soul fuel and what I like to call the activation of your soul force, the liberal allowing of your soul force, aka source force. And this is going to be present today as I speak to how to break up with fear and serve your mission. How to break up with the way that fear and the infection of fear, the plague of fear, shows up in your world, in your reality, holds you hostage, and through the breaking up, allows you to serve your mission and whatever your mission is in a way that you feel free, you feel expressed, you feel motivated, you feel empowered. So, my loves, what I will be teasing through and what I will be expanding and elaborating on is this. You can be one of 2 things in this world and in this lifetime. You fall into one of 2 categories. Here it is. You are either a host to God or a hostage to ego. You are either a host to love, conductor, transmitter, an emissary of love, or a hostage, prisoner, to ego, fear. So The reason that I'm speaking to this, you can imagine that this is intentional and that I believe it is in every human's best interest to be a host to God, a host to love, as opposed to a prisoner to fear, lack, limitation, and the notion of impossibility, of inadequacy, right? And so I'm going to get into this. And so for you listening, if you have ever felt hostage to an old belief, to a pattern, fear, or a past trauma, past experience, a mistake of the past, or have ever been told or hear yourself telling yourself a story or a narrative about you, your life, others, or the world that holds you hostage, this episode is surely for you. So really, this soul share today will cut straight to your soul. It's intended to help you clear out the fog, clear the noise, and cut the bullshit, to help you see and decipher whether you are being indeed a host to God or a hostage to ego. And further, to support in imbuing you with the remembrance that lives in your body, in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, so that you can, again, break up with the fear that keeps you from fully serving the mission that you came here for, that you literally incarnated for, and all of the divine forces and your ancestors have entrusted you with, whatever that mission looks like for you. So as we get into it, another just intention to really highlight that I'm moved to share this now more than ever, which, by the way, host to God, hostage to ego, is inspired by A Return to Love, incredible book by Marianne Williamson, and A Course in Miracles. If you have not heard of them or if you've not delved in, highly recommend. We need humanity mobilized to their deeper mission that moves them beyond themselves, that moves them into a line of service and therefore vitality and life force that is deeply connected in the fabric of humanity's evolution, of the evolution of our consciousness and of the way that we relate with each other, with ourselves, with different nations, with the earth, with the planet, with literally everything. And so, as we all can see in the current world climate that we live in, it's literally begging for change. It's asking us to step up to support the change, the evolution on a fundamental level. Where we need to go is somewhere we have never gone before. And so, therefore, we need to engage a faculty that many of us haven't yet before. And as I like to see it, is this mass paradigm shift of how we are all oriented towards the power that lives within us, that lives within you, that lives within your neighbor, that lives within your parent, your child, your enemy, your hater, like the stranger, whomever it is. All of us have the same power within that is connected to this sentiment of, I have the ability to be a host to God. If I can do the most good, if I can be the most benevolent force that I can be, generous with my service and impact, if I can play a part in this world's evolution, in the consciousness shift, if I can assume my rightful seat at the table of Dharma that was reserved just for me, why in the world wouldn't I? So it's important to recognize that with the challenges we face today, the results that we have continuously bumped into and the cycles that humanity has found themselves in is a byproduct of humans leading and living from that hostage to ego running rampant on their lives and on their decisions. And it really begs the curiosity and the exploration and experiment in general, just openness to what can become possible if more of us are choosing to be and render ourselves available to be hosts to God. And how the unfolding story that we are finding ourselves in can change, can turn upwards, can have its triumphant moment. And that starts on a collective level, that triumphant moment, or that rise into the most exciting and positive climax possible. The arc of the plot moving in we'll call it happy ending story or direction. It starts with you. It starts with us. It begins with the individual. For so many years, I was trapped in the mind mangle of my own constricting stories, of my own self-perception that was deeply distorted. And I was completely convinced of despair and defeat, hopelessness, and paralyzed by fear. Like, I can't do anything. The way that society is set up is not conducive to me playing the role that I wish to play, which is to have power through my voice, through my love, through my gifts. And when the weight of my unmet dreams and desires eventually grew too heavy to keep holding, I recognized that something had to give. Something had to give in within me. And this moment, I love to really emphasize that there's this yielding point that we all can get to with the quality and the level of surrender that is when we recognize that we can only take ourselves so far with the limiting beliefs that we hold, with the things that we've been exposed to in our life thus far, and that have informed our worldview around what's possible. Our socioeconomic status, the class that we grew up in, what our ancestors went through, the ancestral imprints and perhaps burdens that we are carrying, and all of the things that have compiled the unique template that we hold. When we get to a point where we realize that surrendering our minute minds up to something larger than ourselves, to a larger organizing faculty, organizing principle of life, of the universe, of this miraculous world that we live in, that is when real change, real novelty, real opportunity can step forward. Now, along with this, it's important to acknowledge that in surrendering your fears or the patterns, the beliefs, the things that have held you hostage, and in stepping into what it means to be more of host to God mentality, energy, orientation, and momentum in the world, it will require, not might, it will require your courage. It will require you to step out of the identities, the comfort zones, and the molds that you have known yourself to be, and to get a healthy dose of discomfort. And that's perhaps the best part, because you get to meet more and more of yourself in your true nature, in your true capacity, in your true capability when you step forward, moving and leading from that place of, I am a host to God. I choose to be a host to God. Where does that guide me today? So for me, and particularly in my story, and an ever unfolding journey, hero's journey, heroine's journey, I like to say, from being hostage to the matrix, disconnected from my body, from my purpose, and living a life that really drained me instead of invigorated me, living a life where I was complacent and dissatisfied, miserable even in moments, and wondering, is this it? This can't be it. 2, living in my dharma. Living in the mission that my soul came here for, fully in my authentic soul power and devoted to a mission larger than myself where I get to serve through my God-given gifts. Because I am here as a living testimony for this type of reality, this type of a lifestyle, orientation, devotional way of life, you need to know that it is possible for you too. It is possible for every human who exists on this planet. And not only possible, but in the context of this conversation, as I'm saying, quite necessary, encouraged, and really a time where it's being called for in a meaningful, serious way, sincere way. And so for me, the journey of disempowerment and stagnancy, of the, gosh, like, I'm stuck and I know that I need change, but how? I know that I want to live my purpose, but what is it? And just like in wallowing in a place of knowing that I needed something different, but not exactly knowing how to initiate and begin that process, into empowerment and a sense of mobility, both internal and external, that has allowed me to take tangible steps towards choosing and living and creating my Dharma reality. The life where I am serving from the place of my soul as a host to God. This has been the most rewarding thing that I've ever experienced in my life. And it is something that I am so passionate about sharing and precipitating and activating within others, because to experience the level of inner freedom that allows one to move towards mission, inspiration, passion, purpose, is to really make one more incarnate in this experience through your soul embodiment. You always hear people chasing freedom, and whatever freedom means to them, whether that's financial freedom or freedom to spend their time how they wish to, or freedom to say the thing that they really want to say, freedom to express themselves in the way they want to wear what they want to. All of the different ways that one can relate to freedom. I have got to tell you, too many people are waiting to experience freedom from something on the outside changing. They are making their freedom dependent on something outside of them changing, happening, inviting them, or permitting them first. When true freedom begins inside, it begins internally with the choices that you make and how you relate to the thoughts and the narratives, the self-talk that occurs thousands of times a day. Okay? So everyone has the ability to practice this and to repattern the way that they have been, and to surrender and allow a more natural and truthful design to take over in your life. That which incites continual creation, aliveness, life force, enthusiasm, which is really just, in simple terms, love living its way through you, through us. All right, you still with me? Let's get into it. You can either be a host to God or a hostage to ego. So it's important to acknowledge that in every moment you are always presented with this option. Because, look, you are always believing in something, right? You are always choosing to believe in something, and you are always serving something through the choices that you make. whether that's with your purchasing power or with how you choose to respond to your partner, or the decision that you make in your business, the investment that you make, the investment you don't make, whether you decide to sell all your things and go nomadic or relocate or stay exactly where you are, right? So you are always choosing to believe in something and serve something. Now, you can believe in and serve your most disruptive, disempowering, and limiting thoughts and perspectives about yourself and about the world. Or you can choose to believe in and serve your most divine, expansive, empowering thoughts and desires. In this conversation, we can't not talk about the fact that faith is believing in something that you do not yet have evidence for. It's choosing to believe in something you do not yet have evidence for. Fear is literally the same thing, okay? Fear is also choosing to believe in something, often the worst case scenario, that you do not have absolute evidence for or assurance for. You with me here? Choosing to believe in faith or fear literally comes from the same place, choosing to believe what you are choosing to believe. Bringing it back to the seat of your personal power, of that of choice. If there's any free will you have in this planet, in this lifetime, it is that faculty of choice. So, all in all, you can live under the provision of your best case scenario thinking, or under the superstition of your worst case scenario thinking. I'm gonna say that again. You can live under the provision of your best case scenario thinking, or under the superstition of your worst case scenario thinking. Now, which one feels better for you in your body? Which one genuinely resonates more deeply with your heart and your soul? Because a part of you is so uninterruptedly, seamlessly, indestructibly, unfalteringly connected to truth. Capital T, truth. The truth of the laws, the spiritual laws that we all abide by in this human existence. And you know which one feels and sounds and feels better for where you're meant to go in this lifetime and what you're meant to create and how you're meant to be a human doing, in addition to a human being. So here, being a hostage to ego, aka fear, it insists that you derive things like safety, security, stability, and power from things outside of yourself. While being a host to God, aka love, allows for you to derive all of those things internally. Self-sourced safety, security, stability, validation, peace, power, abundance, reassurance, all of these things. Self-sourced. Because as a host to God, you can quite literally source anything from the energy of creator becoming creation, right? Infinite creativity, infinite creative capacity and power. So my question for you is, who would you say, honestly, is the more powerful person here? The one who thinks and lives the word of God and unity, possibility? Or the one who thinks and lives under the fog of fear and the infection of insecurity, who is handicapped by the belief of separation? You can either be elevated in knowing that you are connected to it all. You are connected to it all, and all of it is here to be provisionary in some way, part of providing you the resources, the precise resources and recipe that you need to become even more available and auspicious as a host to God. Some things to know about the ego. The ego is always on alert. It's that pressure that you experience to strive, and at the same time, it's the immobilizing paralysis that says, what's the point? Why even try? To be a host to God is to be immune to negativity, to your pessimism, to your existentialism, to your purposelessness, to your insecurities, to your doubts. Okay, it's to be completely immune to that. It's not to say that you won't experience it, but it's to be it's to have cultivated a certain level of immunity such that those experiences don't hijack your experience and lead you into a reactionary state where you're choosing from that place of being held hostage to the fear, to the doubt, to the worry, to the concern, to the scarcity, to the lack, to the distorted ways of perceiving yourself and what's possible. To be a host to God, alternatively, is to become an available conduit, vessel for the higher perspective, the higher self-embodiment, which really means that you become a conductor for more generosity, for more possibility, for more compassion, forgiveness, wisdom, love. So, all that being said so far, my question for you, SoulShare listeners, this is your SoulShare inquiry for this episode. My own freestyle of a SoulShare card is to really be honest with yourself about the question I'm about to ask. What is currently holding you hostage in your life? What's the thing that is most holding you hostage? What are you most hostage to that you are aware of that is either debilitating to you, it's diminishing to your sense of self, of power, of capability? Now, here are some examples of what this could be. There's obviously a whole range, and so just feel into what might resonate, or maybe it's something entirely different. Perhaps it's an outdated belief, a fictitious story that you've been telling yourself and about you, about who you are, about what's possible for you, about others and how others perceive you or what they think of you, or about your life, about your purpose. Maybe it's collapsing into your emotions where you kind of get inundated and overwhelmed and overwrought by your emotional experience. Maybe it's your judgments of the past or past mistakes, quote unquote mistakes. Maybe it's the kind of inner dialogue that says, what if it doesn't work out? And so you get stuck and you just don't do the thing because the thought of what if it doesn't work out keeps you from even trying. Well, you don't know that it's not going to work out, but are you going to choose to believe that it's not going to work out? Or are you going to choose to believe that it will? Because any direction you go, as you choose to put all of you and your faith and your willingness, some kind, if not multiple kinds of beautiful, potent, nutrient-rich outcomes come from every single endeavor. We learn by doing, right? We learn in the experiment of it, not just in the contemplation of it. This is the whole point of embodiment work, is about actually doing the things so that you can learn through the wisdom of your body real time. Maybe it's the thought that says in your mind, I'm not ready yet. Later, another time. What will they think? Will they judge me? Will they make fun of me? I don't deserve this. Whew, that one. Who am I? Who am I to do this thing? Who am I to share this thing? Who am I to create this thing? Whew, that one. I'll probably do it wrong. What's the use in trying? I'm probably going to do it wrong, so what's the use in trying? Other people are doing it, and they're doing it better than I could. They're probably doing it better. Yeah. Perhaps you resonate with one of these statements more than the others, or perhaps you resonate with all of them. Point is, just take a moment to sit with yourself. Maybe you want to pause this recording right now so you can take out your journal and get after it. Or you want to let this just sink in and start to observe yourself and track what comes up in your regular day-to-day, especially when you start to feel this sort of contraction and this limitation internally and externally. Just notice what's the main story, belief, or pattern behind it. Maybe it's addiction holding you hostage and the dependence on something outside of you. Maybe it's lack of presence and the suppression of your emotions or your authentic expression. Maybe it's your fear of rejection or the outsourcing of your sense of worth or value. Along that theme, maybe it's reliance on external validation. Maybe it's the desperation to be seen or to get people to understand you. Maybe it's the ongoing punishment, self-inflicted punishment from something that happened in your past. See, there's so many possibilities, and I mean, we're all human here. So I can just imagine that many of these, multiple, if not all of them, are landing with some level of resonance. And so the invitation is not to stress yourself out with these examples here. It's to really be honest and clear and sober with yourself about what is the main thing. Like if there was just like the top offender or usual suspect for you, which one is that? Yeah, because with anything, with any of these unchecked thoughts running rampant, we quite literally are torturing ourselves with that which is simply untrue. Panging ourselves literally with the pain of false perceptions, self-perception, and perceptions of this reality. And so I want to also speak to how in this host to God orientation, choice, right? It is to understand and experience firsthand that everything gets to be a miracle in disguise. When you are under the provision of your best case scenario thinking, like I said earlier, or under the provision of life and its circumstances, life and its outcomes, life and the results that you experience. It is to know and to deeply understand, like I'm telling you, like to really feel this on a soul level, that everything is an undercover agent delivering an essential lesson for the curriculum of your soul's journey, of your human's development, exactly what is best for you in the perfect way, in the precise pace. It is customly curated miracle. And, for me personally, it's quite both liberating, relieving, and empowering to recognize this, because it is, of course, liberating to realize, oh my gosh, I can't get it wrong. There is no mistake. There is no failure, right? There is only the accumulation of experience and real-time initiation to become ever more of my true self. Sometimes this is going to mean you're going to learn a lesson that feels bitter. Sometimes this might mean that you have the most surprising reward that you're like, oh my gosh, is this real? Pinch me, right? So whatever form that the undercover divine agent comes in, it is to know that the miracle is always there. The miracle is in the way that we choose to perceive and think about the situation. It's the set of eyes that we choose to put on and the lens that we choose to wear when we see and we reconcile and we integrate such situations. So, miracles, the miracle mentality is what sets us up to be the most readily available, bioavailable hosts to God, and therefore love, abundance, possibility, light, healing, the amplification of true solutions, true structure level, systemic level solutions for humanity. Look, my loves, we only journey through this life once, exactly as you. You were only you once. Wow. With the particular set of passions that you have, with the particular life exposure and soul curriculum and experience and collection of learnings and lessons, you only walk this specific journey once. And while many times it's going to feel absolute insane, like madness, like walking on water, impossible, unstable, and ever-changing, but your connection to faith, to truth, capital T truth, your devotion to being a host to God, that is what gets to be stable. You get to experience this stability, this level of stability and security, and this sense of, I got this, I'm held. Through your steady cultivation that can create a foundation, a fortress, a focus, no matter where you are, no matter what is happening, what situation you found yourself in, what kind of weather you're experiencing internally or externally, or what challenges life brings you, right? This is something to really, really let land in the face of a life that is so innately unstable and ever-changing. You get to cultivate stability and steadiness and a untouchableness through your own relationship to holding faith in what you don't have evidence for, in that best case scenario, right? And in being in devotion to being a host instead of hostage. In A Course in Miracles, direct quote, it is said, with every thought, we are either host to God or hostage to ego. So the takeaway here and need really is to be incredibly conscious and aware of your thoughts. To begin tracking them in a way that allows you to see what are the ones that feel like a broken record. Now, sometimes they're right there on the front lines. Sometimes it's a bit deeper, right? And whatever it's stemming from, the subconscious belief, because the beliefs are the like bedrock. It's like the lowest level, the foundation. And the thoughts are actually arise from that bedrock of beliefs. So it's like, okay, the bedrock is this subconscious belief that I'm inadequate. Let's give an example. I'm inadequate. I'm not enough. And so from that bedrock that is infused with this belief, this faulty belief of lack of scarcity, of inadequacy. Now, the thoughts, let's say the seeds that get planted in that are by design the distorted thoughts. So that's the thoughts that say I'm not good enough, or they're doing it better than me, or I'm not ready yet, right? So like you can see the correlation. And then the flowers that sprout from those seeds, the plants or the other flowers, you can see so clearly that the results of the flower, right, of like what your harvest is, that it's derived from this compromised soil. Becoming consciously aware of your thoughts. What are the seeds? How's your soil compromised? By what kind of beliefs? And in this practice of starting to become aware of and really track those beliefs, those faulty beliefs and distorted thoughts, you get to choose to see them for what they are. Merely the many voices of ego's so-called protection, safety, masquerading as inhibitors for you being in your true rightful power. The protection, right? The so-called protection of survival is always an illusion that's due for a more accurate and representative story, amendment to what is true here and now today. You still with me here? All right, let's keep it going. So I want to talk about power. You hear me talking about who's the more powerful person, the person who is a host to God or the person that is hostage to ego and the place that you are guided, the actions you are guided, the choices you are guided to make from these two different launch pads, right? The launch pad that then opens the juncture for different pathways. So power in our world. We can see some people, I will say not everybody, but some people have a hesitation, almost a fear, a reluctance to being in their power, what that might mean for them, because on some level they have been harmed or have been negatively affected or impacted by someone else being in a power role or a power dynamic, such that it's led them to unconsciously or consciously condemn, many times unconsciously, but to condemn being in one's power. Now, it's important to acknowledge that power comes from different places. There is a power, we can call it pseudo power, false power, compromised power. That comes from the place of being hostage to ego. And there is the true, pure power that comes from being host to God. To be in your power as a host to God is the kind of power that you can inherently trust because it is pure, it is unshakable, and it's the kind of power that has the ability to take you all the way. In a quite, I don't want to say completely effortless, because there's some effort when you first start to acknowledge that, oh, there's a rightful way to be in my power. There's a rightful way to live from the place of my soul force, of capital T truth, and to move in the world as a host to God, because you're going to have to, as I said, adopt and engage and participate in the world with more courage, with more audacity, with more willingness, perhaps. Just different. And so while it's not entirely effortless, there's a level of ease that comes from allowing the God power, the source force, to guide you, to move through you. God indeed wishes to take you all the way. But this can only happen when you make yourself available for the destiny of you, of your authentic soul, of your authenticity, of love's way, of service, of dharma. And so when you make yourself available for the kind of self-expression, of service, of offering yourself from a place that feels maybe edgy at first, but really damn true and really damn life-giving and exhilarating. This kind of allowance, liberal allowance and surrender to that which is being deeply called for, this precipitates, this furthers, this allows more self-realization, true self to become realized. And along this sentiment, we need to acknowledge that fear simply cannot take you to your deepest desires, certainly not all the way, and whatever that might mean for you. Because why? As you've seen in so far in this episode, fear will get you to put on the brakes. It will get you to stop in your tracks. It will get you to do to fight against yourself and fight against your dreams and do the very thing that you said you wouldn't do, or vice versa, to not do the thing that you said that you will do because you really want to. It will keep you from taking very rightful risks that actually your soul is begging for. To be a host to God is to be courageous, enormously resilient, and soft in both mind and heart. There's a level of softness that arises from this place of power. Not more force, not more pressure, not more striving, not more rigidity, but softness, openness, almost tenderness, permeability, applicability. Okay, so wonderful humans, if this resonates, I would love for you to repeat after me. Maybe you want to write these affirmations down. These are really helpful mantras to just have handy, and affirmations that go along with this reorientation from the material in this episode. Take a deep breath first with me. Inhale through your nose. And exhale fully and generously out of your mouth. I will not stoop to the level of my most fearful, disempowering, or discouraging thoughts. Go ahead and repeat after that. I will not stoop to the level of my most fearful, disempowering, or discouraging thoughts. Next part. I am unavailable. I am unavailable for perspectives that undermine my dreams, my ability to take action and create my destiny. I am unavailable for perspectives that undermine my dreams, my ability to take action and create my destiny each and every day. Amen. Aho to those. You simply cannot see yourself in perverted ways and be happy. You cannot condemn, judge, or shame yourself in any way and be happy. You cannot perpetuate stories of your inadequacy, your not enoughness, or your too muchness and be happy. So it's important here to just really recognize the way that the illusions of the ego mind and fearful thinking diminishes your sense of self and sense of possibility, and therefore perpetuates the same cycles, patterns, and results that you're probably, I'm going to assume, sick of, tired of, frustrated with, or just kind of like, bleh. It's like blah about it. For with the provision of love, all things are possible. And under the realm of God, infinite creation, nothing is impossible. If you have ever felt hostage to the inner voice that says that you can't, and that says that you're not good enough, you don't deserve it, you're surely fail, so no use in even trying, any of the above and more, I really hope that this message is deeply landing for you. That you can apply this and put this into practice the next time you feel stressed and conflicted and restricted, and really take a moment to pause, to just stop what you're doing, go internal for a moment, and ask yourself, who do I wish to be right now? A host to love or a hostage to fear? Who do I wish to be? And in that inquiry, clearly identifying the separate paths, the ways of being, proceeding, choosing, and leading yourself from there that are relevant to that situation. And then decide which direction, really feel and sense which direction your soul feels called to move. Even if it's uncomfortable, because often when you are interrupting old patterns and reactions and installing new ways and responses, there'll be some discomfort, but that doesn't mean you don't do it. Discomfort gets to be an invitation. Discomfort gets to be your provision. Discomfort gets to be your guru. It gets to be your fertilizer, your catalyst, your nurturer. Wow. I told you this was going to be a rich and loaded one. And if nothing else, my prayer for you and for as many people as will be receptive to this message, I pray for lightness upon our hearts upon the final exhale. To leave as little room for what ifs, for wonderment, and unmet wishes as possible when it's time to close our eyes for the final time. And what's going to allow for this? This activation right here. Remembering who you are from the place of truth, from the place of I am an evolutionary being. I am never stuck to where I've been. I am never a prisoner. I am never meant to be hostage to something that I have the ability to shift, that I have the ability to unchain from, that I have the ability to alchemize and transform through. You have it in you. We all do. We are not meant to give up. We are here to give in. To give in to what deeply summons our souls, to what calls us. And you know what that is. Whatever that is for you, you know. So, yeah. May this whole message here really support in igniting the spark within that will allow your will to give in to that which draws you to expand, to that which draws you to rise, that which draws you to a higher order of aliveness and of embodiment in authentic truth, authentic self. All right, loves. So I am going to close us off today with one of my poems, actually. I've shared some of my poetry on the podcast before. Oh my gosh. Okay, before I share this poem, it's important for me to share. It's exciting for me to share, not just important, that this poem will be in my upcoming poetry collection. My book is being released finally. Y'all will be able to order it officially out on the market, on the interwebs, on May 17th, 2026. This is going to be my first of more publications, my first poetry book. I'll do a whole separate episode on poetry, or something along the alchemy that it's created in my life. But the important thing to just share here is that this feels like the most impactful, defining, monumental, pivotal moment of my entire journey, sharing and releasing this particular collection, this book. And I'm so excited for you guys to have it in your hands, for those who feel called to receive the medicine that this book holds. It is deep. It is raw. It is real. What else would you expect from me, though? All right. So this poem is one of the poems from the book. I wrote it years ago. I'm not sure how many now, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And the title is Held Hostage. Literally perfect for this whole episode. Couldn't be more perfect. So I invite you to settle into any way that you could best receive this poem. Maybe you want to close your eyes if that's available to you. Maybe you want to lay down, set in some kind of meditation position, or anything else. And I invite you to take a breath with me, and I will share. Inhale all the way up. Hold it for a moment. Feel yourself filled with life force. And exhale slowly, softly, fully. I'm a hostage to myself. My own hands pressed up against my throat keep me from saying the things that yearn to tremble from my lips. My own saliva waters down my feelings as I swallow my truth and instead recite scripts. A prisoner of my mind, so my feet are cemented in place. Unable to move forward into the dreams yearning for my embrace. I've harbored far too many fears in my heart, it's getting harder to breathe. The illusionary beliefs I've subscribed to have my blood in a seethe. Have I reached my boiling point? I wonder, do I need to be held at gunpoint to watch my life flash before my eyes and realize what would be my biggest regrets? Did I try hard enough for my dreams? Did I honor my voice and speak my truth? Did I believe in myself? Did I hold on to my pain? Did I let grief harden my heart? Did I fail to forgive? Did I take the fire inside me seriously? Did I love with all I had? Did I let fear win? Bound by everything I choose to believe, I've decided I am done being my own biggest oppressor. The shackles of my own written stories, it is time to break. Slipping through the chains as I rise untethered, shaken, awake. May that message land exactly where it is meant to, in your soul field, in your mind garden, in your heart chalice. Thank you so much for tuning in to the premiere episode of season 2 of the Soul Share podcast. I'm so excited to tune in more with solocasts as well as for the amazing guests that I'll have on the show. And until next time, I would love to hear from you if you have any inspired thoughts, musings, questions, contemplations, anything that comes up from this episode. You can always reach out. Feel free to share on my Instagram. That's at Yiz_Mariposa. And I will see y'all next time. So much love, so much love. Mwah.